Hey everyone, we're just about ready to begin. Just loading up one more page and then we'll be set to go. Thank you so much for staying with us in the holding pattern. It's going to be a very interesting one tonight. Hi Antonio, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, working with some technical difficulties to get the live day trading loaded up, so stick with us. I promise it'll be worth the time if you're wanting to learn about the alts and day trading strategy and market analysis. So appreciate you joining. So, here we go. I appreciate your patience. Thank you for joining Archangel Alts. And my goodness, let's just try to get things loaded up as they should be. And uno más, gracias, señor. There we go. Very good. So, you can see this is in the process of filling the order right now. So, thank you so much for joining Archangel Alts. This is Gordon Freeman, the free man. I'm going to take you from the darkness into the light through the crypto revolution. Oh yeah. So, it is about just a little after 10 Eastern Standard Time, April 25th, 2019. And it's a really important pivotal time in the market. So, can't do a market analysis and live day trading separate category videos at the same time. So, decided that it would be more valuable to you to think of this in terms of, gosh, what could a person do when things are so horribly heinous and terrible and awful and scary and low and dreadful in the market, when there's also a lot of promise at the bottom. So, you know, they all say, buy the dip, buy the dip. Well, it's a deep dip and it could go deeper. But historical data gives us a little bit of room, a little bit of wiggle room to decide how to handle it. So I think that this is an historic opportunity to learn from the inside out and see how these things should be handled. So I'm going to take just a very brief moment to go over the state of the union, the state of BTC. So $298 million volume measured in Tether USDT. The only one that currently matters. A lot of people hate it. That's just how it is. You don't like the things you don't understand, I think, is kind of how that goes. So it looks like we might be having another off the cliff moment here. The last time we stair stepped from about, let's be generous and say 53.11 up about $13. But it fell, let's see, 53 down to about 52, so I think about $35, and then made it back up to where it started and added another 13. So if we kind of zoom out and see what we're dealing with here, this was the fall from grace from just shy of 5,500. Was not able to break the 5,500 resistance. A lot of people probably were talking about that. If they were, then they were. If they weren't, then they weren't. So as we zoom out, we can see that it had been 55.82 going back to just over a day ago, just under a day ago, just over a day ago. And it struck the 5600 chord right over here. This was a pretty strong, steep. Let me see if I can get the volume on that. Yeah, like 8,200 Bitcoins in that 1 hour stretch. That's pretty impressive. Let's just see what that is. 8,200 times, let's just say 5,500. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Always a good sign when you have to count the zeros. $45 million went into that little stretch right there to go from what? Oh, let's say about 51 to 56. So $500 cost about 45 million to do. That sounds about right. It was about $80 million to do 700, not too far back from there. So And this is just this piece. I'm just talking about the volume right here. So we have a mirroring. Bitcoin, the mirroring, coming to a theater to you, near you, soon to you. Happy birthday to you. Yes. So 5,600, 5,100. So, I mean, if you're bad at math, then do it this way. 5,600 plus 5,100 equals that, divided by 2 equals that. 5350 on the nose is the average. And how do I know that the mirroring is what is going on? Because I see it. So that's how I work. I see the geometry and the movement. I don't have to think about it because I see it. But I see the up here, the obvious top, and then the drop here. This part is a little bit insignificant, and as long as it's holding somewhere around the average, which it did. And then here's the drop, which honestly was actually steeper. They didn't stop it at... It's amazing that it stopped exactly at 5102, but really it was more like around the 5170, 50 range, and somebody won with a heavy sell-off there. You see that red right there? That chunk right there is the heavy sell-off. And then it came back up, and it's coming back up. And I think it's fair to assume 5350 is about where it's going to land. I would say just anything above 5300 is strong if it can hold it there. There's no guarantee that it does, but the volume is continuing to go up. So there's a lot of activity, a lot of... I think that the fear is a little bit heavier than the fear of missing out. So that just the general overall sense of dread is apparent. So we do actually have some more things in the green. It was actually shifting towards where I would say probably about 100 out of the 160 that there are to trade were in the green, but that green was from a negative 50%. So we are officially back into a down loop, and I don't really care what anybody else says. I'm looking at the accuracy of what I see in front of me, so I understand what I must do with the truth, which is to read it accurately and correctly. So even though that is very unpopular, here's the Bitcoin crash, Bitcoin Cash hard fork, Bitcoin team and Bitcoin Cash insignificant in comparison team had a hard fork. They dealt with it for months. They all disagreed with each other, so they finally did the change through the early mid-November, and that's what you see right here. This was a result of the hash rate wars, the fight for listing, taking personnel, taking mining, taking a lot of resources away from Bitcoin and shifting them over here. There was a lot of fear on the way down, so we basically broke Bitcoin in half. And if this were just a mirroring, then we would have seen up, steady average, down, steady average, back, at least up around here. And as you can see, we have not yet even gotten close to that. It's nice to see the upward movement, but it's not quite enough. It's not natural movement because we need the extra mass adoption. We need real liquidity. We need real volume. So that's the thing, see? So what I've noticed is everything is at a new low again, and I know that you can't see that exactly in Bitcoin, but as I go through these, I know you're going to see what I see, and you will not be able to deny it. So I'm going to go to the most obvious examples first. And would you say that this is higher or lower? Higher or lower than this? I would say this is lower than, but we had some nice spikes. Where were those spikes? Okay, very recently here. That's more recent than a lot of them. But here's January, February, March into March. We were starting to see what people really thought was a bull run. Now saying, nope, this is not a bull run. We do not have the volume for a bull run. Bull run is going to be marked not just by up or down, but by how much trading is getting it there. And if it's still too low, then a spike in one place is going to be a dip in another. And it's just the ebb and flow. It's the tsunami process. It's the you got a teeter-totter and one person is way too heavy for the other kind of scenario. If you had two giant heavy people on a really strong teeter-totter, then that's what you want. You want way too much volume on both sides, and it'll just go crazy, and everybody's trades are going through, and it's a beautiful thing, man. So eventually, the heavier the volume, eventually the heavier the value going up, and there's a lot of resistance even towards negative news. So don't be a negative news Nancy. Don't be a negative Nancy. Okay, so You can see through here we had a spike just over the past week. So Myth hitting in the 1600 range is now down to 900. Okay, so if it were, let's say, just going back, I'm not even going to be that unfair. We're going to say after the Bitcoin crash, cash hard fork, and go to around here just at the beginning of the year, right? It's still on its way down. It's still on its way down. It's still on its way down. But I mean, 900 has hit, unfortunately, a new second bounce low, where this was literally 50% of that. And going back, looking towards where was this? This was in the high 16s. Come back over here to the high 16s. We can look at just, yeah, literally at the beginning of the year, and it's hit its 50% down. So you can see I'm not exaggerating. I'm actually cutting a lot off to say that 900 is a little bit less than 4,600, right? So 9 times 5 goes into this. So I mean, it's a 5x loss there. Does that look similar to you? Yes, I think it does. Okay. CELR, most newly listed. We were in really good positions with CELR. And made some money on it, and we were right in this range. I mean, I'm glad that it caught itself from falling, but you can see this is an all-time low even for CELR, and it's just gotten listed. So it's automatically at a third of the value. Okay, so that's more than a 50% drop. You know, not half the value, but a third of the value. And I'm not taking it to, you know, the initial spike of 3,000. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a realistic 600. It's now hovering down in the twos. So I don't know how many of these you would like to see before you'll believe me that it is as bad as it is. But I'm making this point because, I mean, you know, this is FET is 1/3 of what it was before, but it only shows as negative 13%. That's because over the past 24 hours, negative 13% is off of the more than that it had already dropped. Singles going through a similar thing. Let me zoom out. It's been around here a little bit longer. So it had a really strong recovery period over here. So it's a little bit unusual and even looking that good. But still, you see where I'm going here, right? I mean, that looked pretty strong, but I'm going to get rid of that first spike. I do not include the initial listing spike. So we're going to see where that was. Okay, so 5,800, 290. Is that even a tenth? Is 290 a tenth of 2,900? Okay, so you can see how incredibly low that is. So I mean, these are all very close to their record lows of their lifetime achievement awards or lack thereof. This was having a nice up in comparison to some of the others, but we're looking at about 63,000, and now we're looking at 13,000. So I'm just showing you what I say is true. So you can say, I believe you. Okay, I'm going to eyeball ones that I'm the most familiar with. TNB. Yes, sirree. You and me, TNB. Wow, it made it back down to 34. That's impressive. That's bad, but impressive. But actually, it's good for what we're about to embark upon. Yes, pretty much. So key, that looks like a bad sign and a good sign. So I hope that you can, I mean, 46 is the lowest the key has ever been. Okay, and in comparison to 777, I'm not going to include that one, but let's say even 500. Okay, so I mean, it's not even a tenth. Not even a tenth, okay? Now, these are the kinds that, you know, they're good for other things other than just pumping. These are actually not bad coins. They're fairly decent in comparison to what you'd see like on Cryptopia, for instance. Now, this one I just do not understand. Stop wasting your money here. Seriously, it has done nothing but go down. And these are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Bitcoins that are just going to be sitting. You either are going to take your loss. I mean, these are only the trades that are going against Bitcoin. You know, it's not showing anything in being traded against the alts and the other things where it is doing different stuff. Oh, people, don't waste your money. Don't waste your time, please. There's too many things for us to all achieve together. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so ADA is going up and fun is going down. I'm going to give you little announcements on the side. You can decide to do with it what you wish. So even if we go to, let's go to the top of the list and see how this is looking in comparison. Okay, we're up to 53.33 on Bitcoin. The problem is that as it's building volume, it's building accumulation and going up too quickly. Okay, so would you say that that's low compared to this? Yes, I think you would. So other than the fact that you can't see that at all, Vi is a difficult one to visualize. E and J going down. Hotcoin is another little bit of a, it's kind of an anomaly because it got pumped through here and it's such a low value. You can see 110 Bitcoin pulling it down to 23. That's going to keep going down. Stay away from it. So, yes, there are a few anomalies. BNB is going to be an anomaly for sure. Yeah, it's going like skyrocket gangbusters, crazy, wacky, wild. They're doing their mainnet. They're about to release another one on their launch pad. They're moving BNB over to their mainnet, and they're launching their own blockchain to put that on. So it's a really big deal. XRP, I've seen better days for XRP. Anything below 6,000 is a little bit wonky. And, 6 grand's a lot less than 22,000. You know what I'm saying? TRX is weak in the 5s, so very sad to see it in the 4s for those who are true blue TRX Tron fans. Okay, so I hope that you can see as I go through these that the majority of them are bouncing off the bottom of the lowest bottom of the low. Did I say bottom? Yes, low. Badly low, bottom, low. Matic is going to get listed soon. It's showing up here, but it's ready to rock. It's not actually going to do anything until it's listed. I'll have to look at the news to see what that is. I'm going to post that on our Twitter and in our group. So, by the way, join, subscribe, become a part of the community. Your voice is what's missing. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So hopefully YouTube doesn't give us like, here's your 30-second window, even though we take a minute to let the technical stuff get done. We'll let that one guy, Antonio, have a chance to see you before you get buried in the list. Hopefully that's not the case. But so we have like 159,000. We're down to 39,000. Okay. So you believe me, and you see that Vibe being down 11% is actually pretty low in comparison to what we're used to seeing it do. So what is my plan here? So we put about a couple $1,000s into the market at this low point. So I'm going to take a look at what's already gone in, bought and sold some good stuff. So PO, I'm going to start with PO. So we bought at 90. We bought at 95, and I put it in for 98. So my thinking is I'm going to let it sit and simmer a little bit. So where's 98 in comparison? You can see over here, you barely move the dial and it's there, but I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so you can see it bottomed out around 91, and 98 is around here, and it's meeting resistance lower than that. But it was at 102 pretty steadily before that. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit so you can see more and more. 125 a couple days ago. But just look how low we are in comparison to this, and it's such a drastic up that Bitcoin is doing. Eventually, it will slow down and it's up a little bit if it does continue going up. And these other alts are going to eventually sync with it and start going up as a result. So, you can see 130 back in the first week of April, 145 at the very beginning of April, 149. And these are, after very low lows, very weak. But the low was still in the hundreds. So if I look at what I'm normally trying to get out of, hold on for just 1 second. There's Gordon and Kakashi on the two screens there. You can see us there. So I'm going to set up my percentage calculator. Yeah. So go over here, and so here we are. So was just talking about, I think I was talking about PO. I believe it was for 95. So usually we're looking for our 0.5%, and check that out. So 95 to 95 and less than a half would be our 0.5%. So that'd be like 1% is still just going from 95 to 95. But I feel like it's worth letting it sit longer than I am comfortable for to do a bit of a swing trade or even a week trade. I don't consider it a HODL. Nothing shorter than 2 weeks, in my opinion, and what seems to serve our purpose. Nothing shorter than 2 weeks is a hold. It's just a longer short term, or you could call it a midterm process. So look at least getting through 3% from that. We'll go back over here, and yeah, so if we bought at 95, 6, 7, 8, so you're looking at more than 3%, and it's not a huge trade size. We did I'd say about $300. I mean, in the real world, in the regular scheme of things, in the normal happenings, I mean, $300 is a lot of money to me. But as far as trading goes, we have been working our way all the way up to a $20,000 trade. So we're scaling way back because the market is just such crazy, insane junk, and we want to protect the process, and we want to give good advice to others to protect their processes as well. So, Antonio, come back if you want to learn important things. But yeah, so hopefully people will be able to find us as we go along here. Very, very good stuff. So that's our plan there for PO. I'm looking at and I mean, this is stuff that I would usually just include with our paid group, but I think it's such an important time in the market that you're getting information that I think that will serve you well. So the bottom of the barrel, the absolute bottom for PO is 91. We've gone in at 95, and we're expecting to see 98 within a week or so. And hopefully, if PO continues to go down at that point, it means the entire market is going down at that point, and things are a lot worse than just waiting on a single position that's already that low. I think that is extremely fair to assume that it can handle the 120s, 130s. Let's see where it was after the Bitcoin Cash hard fork. Yeah, I mean, it was still holding in the 130s. And what was it worth before the hard fork? It was in the 200s, and it hit the bottom there around 124. So I mean, we're so you had to dig the floor of the basement and then get through the trenches and build something low beneath the basement in order to get how low of a low the market is, and it's low point. Oh yeah. Okay, so that was PO. So you can see our position already went in, and I'm selling at 98, and I'm going to let that take however long it takes. So now we're going to look at fuel. I bought it 169, and I could decide to just be safe and go ahead and take our profit. If you can look at just how low that is for fuel, do we want to just grab our money and have a little bit more to circulate? You can see there's kind of the visual of an upswing starting to happen. There's part of what I'm going to look for is how weighted down is it. Not a lot of people are taking advantage of this one, and there's enough 100 BTCs compared to such a weak market that I'm pretty certain that it's got what it takes to get through these guys. So I could make things extremely safe and extremely quick. Let me see what size. So it took like several to process that. It's not really that large, so I think we're going to let it sit until 172-ish. And I mean, it came down from 187. I think we'll let it sit at 173. I think that's what we're going to do. So I don't mind doing smaller trade, larger size. assume that it'll hit in a week. It might even hit today. That would be, it's kind of the idea, is that it go ahead and just, you know, bam, they sync up and then they're done. But I'm not really expecting that. Everything seems to be bouncing from its miserable low at this point, so I'm hearing a lot of ups. IOST is finally starting back up again. In fact, I better go check that out. Did I do an IOST? I did not do an IOST. Okay. So let's look at key. Went in this time on key. We went in at 47. I've already got my 53s set up higher. And you can see, you know, it's thinking kind of along the same terms at that point in time. This one I put in at 47, and it's about $100 Bitcoin World. So I'm going to say this one is a little bit trickier. It's really low volume, but I know that we're looking at an all-time low for key. It's just, it's normally worth more than that. It is small, but I mean, you know, it's not difficult for it to get in the 80 range at least. This is where it was after the Bitcoin crash cash hard fork, and I think they deserve the clearing of the throat pretty much every time. So I think, don't we have one set up for 60 on key? Oh, this is the one with the ridiculous early positions. Oh, so much fun. Okay, so we have 55, 6, and 7. Let me see what the 53, 55, 6, and 7. I think because we've gone so low, I'm going to change those to 55. Don't you like hearing all my thinking behind this stuff? So 55, 56, we'll say 56. Let's be fair there. 56. And that's going to be like minus $100 about. Let me make sure that I've got that right. Okay, 53. I was very confident on that one, and then the market did what it did, which increased the length of time. So 500, 600. Yeah, so the majority of that belongs at 56. Okay. So we're just going to say, well, I want to make sure I get that right. What will be left is 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. That is so too. So if I, it's not telling me up there. No, it's not telling me up there. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 244 200. Let's see. 244 200 minus 2 2 2 2 2. 221 978. 221 978. That should be the correct amount, and we're going to say that for 56. So 221 9. So hey, 21 978. Is that right? 221 978. Okay, so sell it at 56, and that should leave us the size of the newest one at 47. And I'm going to go ahead and say, 50. So even though that is 50 for $100, I'm going to do this again. So we're going to say 50, and like I've been saying, we always go for our 0.5, but I'm intentionally doing something larger. So what is that? It's going to be 1% would take us to 51. Okay, so I actually went in at what? I went in at 47. So if I go from 47 to 50, okay, so you can see we're doing more than 5% on that. So if we were looking at like $1,000 trade at 0.5%, think of it in terms of, this is $100 at 0.5%, 1%. So if we were going for 1% on 100, that would be the same as going for our regular 0.5% trade for $200. So if I do this, that would be like going at a 10x. So we're trying to get the same value of doing 0.5% on $1,000 trade and only spending $100 to do it. That is why the strategy has a good edge to it. So we are now higher than where we started on Bitcoin. It's 5,400, 5,430, which is probably going to wreak even more havoc on the alts right now. So yeah, see, it's already begun. The reckoning, it has begun. Okay, so we're done with our key positions. They're set. We set it and forget it. So we're set to sell key, sell fuel, sell PO. Haven't yet bought on these. Any percentages still yet to be filled. No percentages yet to be filled. So I'm going to just continue the process. And so we looked at PO, and I believe we've got that set up. Okay, we've got PO set up. We did key. We've got that set up. You can see there's a tiny bit of dust here, but if I look at what the value of that is, it can't even get to the 8 decimals after Bitcoin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So now we're on to TNB, which we bought at 97. And because of the spiky nature of TNB, I mean, honestly, I could set it up for, 105, 106 or something along those lines. But I'm really not looking at taking a lot of risk here. It's hit the ceiling at 99 several times in the past day. It has done 107. So I'm kind of thinking, yeah, I'm thinking 97 to 101. And that's about a $300 in Bitcoin world. So 101. So once again, we're going to say if it was TNB 97 to 101, what would that look like? So let's go and look at what that would look like. Hey, get out of the way. There we go. 97 to 101. 97. So I mean, 4% probably. Yeah, not quite 4%. So I mean, not bad. And, the risk is in letting it sit a long time when the market changes substantially over a very short period of time. But looking at historical data on TNB, you will see, it has been as low as in the 60s, and it wasn't that long ago that it did that, but the trend has been up for a very long time. It's coming down a bit there, but I mean, it's coming down from, I see resistance being so close to where this is. So how long do you have to go? I hear lots of things popping. So this is, the valley of the beginning of the year. It was in the 170s, 190s, 200s, 280, 400. So I'm assuming that this is a pretty low, and that it shouldn't take much for it to have to do 101. And I think it's worth giving it a chance to pop there. So obviously there's a lot of activity going on with Bitcoin. There's a lot of pumping and a little bit of FOMO going into it. It's a good sign when it starts this early in the evening. It's kind of a big deal. So that was TNB. So fuel, I believe I've already set it up. And let's see, fuel, we went in at 169. Honestly, I don't think that I'm even going to take that long or that big of a risk with it. Let me see what the value of the fuel position is and decide from there. It's about 190. I think I'm going to take it back to, 169 to 170. Let's see just how low that is compared to what it's done. 173 is pretty safe. I'm going to just do 172. I don't really want it floating out there that long. Now we're not getting into the crazy percentages, so it's not as worth it to me to wait that long on it. I'd rather just have that money back, know that it got there safely. So a little bit different feeling on fuel than a couple of the others. Let's see. In cash did its thing at 34. Let's see, 34, 33333. That's exactly what we got there, minus the fee. 333 plus fee. So I'm just going to let that go from 33 to 37. I think that's safe and smart. Make sure that that looks like the right amount again. I like to triple check these things. 113, 123. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, I could do 38. I mean, it's so rare that it's this low, but it kind of took a while to do that whole thing. I don't think it's going below 32. So, yeah, let's say 38. Let's say 38. There we go. Okay, and I wish that all of these were like a full Bitcoin in size, because we're ready for it. We're ready to make that size of a jump for sure. Ain't no doubt about it. Okay, so we covered all of our fuel, yes, and fun at 98, and that's 3333 as well. So there's our fee. 98. I'm gonna say 103 is really safe, and there's the spikes there. I'm looking for getting a lot out of this and taking a very small amount of risk. I'm willing to wait for some of them, but I don't really want to wait that long for this one. I don't think that it's that big of a benefit above a certain range. So we're going to say, yeah, that's $340 in Bitcoin world. So we're going to say 103 and then watch the margins from there. And then XVG, we went in at 146. I'm going to say 149 because 150 is one of those weird barriers. And so that's XVG, yes. And then MFT. MFT, I mean, you can see this is, I think, as low as it has been. We went in at 51, and I'm going to say, what, 54? Should be okay at 55. Really shouldn't take a long time for it to do this. So now that we've got those set up, if I have any other open orders left, I'm going to go ahead and cancel them. I think that we've done plenty for those. So I'm going to cancel that out. I'm going to cancel the other Encash out. And we're still circulating over 5,000 in Bitcoin world. And let me make sure that there's no partial fills showing up there. I'm going to see if there's any more that I have put in. And I don't think so. So let's double check all of these buys here. That was 425. So we've already bought and sold Raven at a profit. Really nice one on that one. That's really good. So we bought Poe. I'm just going to look and make sure I don't have anything outstanding there. So we bought Poe, Key, TNB, Fuel, Fun, XVG, and MFT. Man, just the spikes upward now are just kicking in like crazy. And I'm hoping that it's going to start activating some of our ones that got beat down so hard. Because there definitely are some. CELR, really big disappointment on that. First time in a really long time that we got caught off guard with something. We don't even need it all the way up here where it easily could have gone. You know, if you look at the regular trend that it was doing before that drop, I mean, you can imagine. There we go. So, I mean, we were beneath where it had already dropped from, and we were only looking to make one or two moves there. So when it started diving down, I was like, oy, oy vey. Rough stuff. All right, so check this out. Check that out. So we may be heading for the 5,600 again, and you know what? If it breaks that 5,600, see, look at that. I mean, it did the entire mirroring that we were talking about. So it's done an entire U. This was massive for somebody's shorts, and this is massive for somebody's buy-in. So, horrito, amazing, crazy. Let's look at, this is just in my favorites list. CLR is still towards the bottom. Pardon me. Excuse me. So, now, I'm going to switch over and do the exact same thing for our browser account because we likely have some stuff in and probably some stuff to cancel. So we're going to look right away, right straight ahead. I've already got that done. So key is the first one I'm going to look at. Key, I've already put it in, I've already set it up, and we have like the biggest stuff waiting on circulation in this account, so it's kind of a big deal. Let's see, key bought at 48. I'm only going to risk 50. I'm not going to take it up to 51. So let's see, make sure that I've got only the right thing here. Don't own any other key except for this. So I'm going to cancel out the 51 and just have it go to 50. And guys, please give a little X here so we can close out the chat thing or minimize it. I don't like it sitting on top of the, like if I'm trying to sell something. I mean, it clicks right on top of, I mean, I know I still got this range here. Let's see if this works. ZIL is up, Nano is up. So if you're coming in for the first time, you've got like, you know, a really sweet situation. Just buy everything where it is right now and then sell it slightly higher than that and you're fine. Put $1 million in on the market. This is not financial advice, but it's really what you should do right now, right this second, right away. Don't wait. So that's key. Then PO, we have at 95. And it could probably do 97 safer. Let's just call it 98 and be done with it. PO at 98 instead of 99. It's more important to me to have the money come back out of circulation than it is to hold out for like another week for a single unit of change. TNB 98. TNB 98, yeah, I think 100 is the right place to put that, so that's fine. And fuel, we bought at 169, so I'm going to take the key window and change this to fuel. And we went in at 169, guess where it is right now? 169. So let's see, 169, make it worth the risk, but don't take an unnecessary risk. So let's say like 2% is 172. Let's just make it like 171. Yeah, 171 is fine. There's nothing really exciting about that, but I just don't want to leave something wasting around for a long time. Most of the time it's sitting around the 200 range. Oh gosh, it is fuel though. Huh. You can see we've got these old positions in fuel, going to be waiting a while on those guys. But what is the reason for that? These are intentionally old holds that once it holds beyond a certain point, I look at the averaging and I make the assumption that it's going to take a while, but it's going to be worth getting the extra profit to let it sit. Even if it goes back to where it was April, May, you know, of the previous cycle. So I think it's pretty safe for it to get to that range. Once it gets beyond that, I think it's pretty safe for it to get through this range. This is where we really see a profit when we start getting our 2000s back. 1000s back. So what's worth it for fuel? 171. Just how bad has it been recently? 171. 172. It can make 172. And I'll keep calling these out. I've got my scanner set specifically for stuff. So BCD is kicking through there again, and they just got listed on something, so it's kind of interesting. It might see a little bit of a spike from that. Bitcoin is now up at 54.57, so it's done another 100 since the last time I talked about the 5300. And 24-hour volume is at $318 million in measurement of the data. Yes, it's good. Okay, so that's fuel. Then we look at Encash at 34. I cannot believe Encash has gotten this low. Sale of the century on Encash. So there we go. Nano's up in the 3s again. Thank goodness. Good for you. So we bought Encash at 34. 5, It was at 38. I can't believe that, anything under 40 is just kind of a shocker to me. But this was in March. It lived in the, it looked pretty weak in the 40s that entire time. So how long are we willing to let this sit? 34 to 40 is a pretty good profit. Let's just call it 39 and play it on the safe side. Get that money back into circulation. Don't wait it out too long. So there's 39. Nice. Okay. I agree with this. Do you concur? Yes, doctor, I concur. MFT 51. That is like the number for MFT. Every time it hits a low, it seems like it's there. So things are dodging down now. Bitcoin's coming over the curve towards the top. All right, so 51, and it's sitting at 51. Look at how deep that dip is. So I'm going to take that to 56. That's what I'm going to do. Where was it over here? Gosh. I mean, there's really room for profit in there, isn't there? We're going to say 59. I'm going to make the assumption that it heads in the right direction. That's a really solid fall for MFT. Fun at 98. Fun, 98. Okay. This past week, it looks like it's reached resistance along that line several different times. But it always spikes pretty hard above that. So we're going to say 105 and be happy with that. So everything that was climbing is now falling. Not extremely different from where it was. XPG at 146. Once again, really can't even believe it's that low. This is like pinch yourself. Is this really happening kind of lows? So 146. 152. We're going to say 152. This is a decent enough profit. We get the money back quicker and safer. Hopefully there is not a whole lot more drop to the drop. And that's pretty much how I'm looking at things. So when we have some very early XVG positions, I hope that it's able to make it back there. Sometime you can see 1400s, and we're at the 850 range. So I've kind of set these up strategically. You can see all of these were set on 224 when I repositioned some things to increase our circulation, and it worked out beautifully. Beautifully. So it just means that our long holds are longer, but still not taking a huge gamble against the average. So you can see that 849 is right about there. So it's a fair, early position average. Obviously, it's not the safest thing in the world, but this market goes sky high like a lot of people are anticipating at some point in time. OSD is going down, ENJ is going up. That's what's happening in the background there. And that looks good. So XVG is the last one showing there. Let's see if that's still the case. Yeah, market is going absolutely crazy at this point. It's 320 million. So guys, if you're out there, if you're watching this, really and truly, seriously, mega importantly, stupendously wow-ish, you don't want to be missing out on this. You really don't. Please join our community. Consider the facts. Consider the things with the stuff. So, pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. The fact that there's as much up and down going and there's still as little in the actual 24-hour green is just, it's an absolute bloodbath. It's crazy. CLR at the absolute bottom of the list right now. And I got to tell you, I really like CLR's overall movement. I'm really disappointed at what the drop did for it. You can see that just in the past couple of hours, it had made it up to the 250s again and was starting to correct, and now it's got another 25 before it does that. So it's got to go 10% up for there, another 5% up there, and we really need it somewhere around here. That looks crazy and impossible, but look at that in comparison to how steady that is through that range. So 300 is pretty safe before the drop. That's why we try to move quickly. We don't like to stick around with crazy high risk when we're trying to build steadily, building blocks on top of one another. So I think 350 was a very safe, fair average, and we're staying a good 7% below that for sure. And you can see that it was performing higher there. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more so you can see a little bit more. I really think that this could be a 500, 600 coin if it could just handle that. So there's your 600, and we're talking about just trying to get up to there. So in the grand scheme of things, it's really kind of like saying, let me just get to the low where we were before. So we're kind of looking at the potential of mirroring this, where it may have been a little bit overbought at 380. And so I would expect the bottom side of that to be sort of a 280 and to meet it somewhere in the middle, but we'll see what happens there. So like if we were to take 380 plus 226, 380 plus 226 equals that divided by 2. I'm not going to like this number, but oh, well, check that out. So we're just under that margin, and that really should work. And I could just go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to wait until it corrects. Let's see, I've got about 600, 100, 300, 500. No, I want to get my money back when I get my money back. So 272 is going to wait until, let's see, 300, 272. So that's about 50 that it's got to do now. So that's about there. Yeah, I'm not real happy with what's going on there. So it is what it is, my friend. So we've got these very intentional, strategically placed new guys in motion. As you can see, these are all of our holds from the beginning of 15 months. So with 22,000 trades most likely by now, we've got about 60 positions. And as you can see, some of those are kind of like silly. Like if this does, somebody has like a 300 Bitcoin spike set really high, we could get a Bitcoin out of it, and that would be fun. It's never going to happen, but we're just kind of playing with a few things. REQ split in half. Kind of can't even believe it. It's terrible. Fun split in half. Kind of can't believe it. It's terrible. Go split in half. Can't believe it. Terrible. IOST not quite as bad, but bad enough to be unhappy. So this was our 44 position. Really not all that bad. Don't know how long it'll take. And IOTX, the most recent one that just kicked our butts when it dropped. So not really all that thrilled about what the market's been doing, but you can see that we have had some sales, and you know, that's only the 24th, 23rd, 22nd. So, you know, we have been very active. We're doing our job. We're making our moves, checking our list, checking it twice, naughty, nice, etc., etc., etc. Gonna take a look now, not just at the 24-hour change, because honestly, it's just really not changing. It's just going back and forth between the same two bad things. But BNB doing handsomely. Ethereum's only dropped about 3%, no big deal. XRP is just low in general. It needs to be above 6,000. BCH, I'm not even going to call it ABC because it is BCH. You know, it is what it is, no big deal. Just the volume is so incredibly low. You know, that's all we've got for the above 1,000. That's just unbelievable, and yet it's believable. Myth was around 1,200, no longer. ENJ was in the 3,200 range. I think it's probably going to recover quicker than a lot of others. It's been doing so rather strong. Raven, yeah, you can see. I mean, I'm a little bit impressed at its pushback. It dropped below 1,000, which was a big deal, but it recovered just like right away. So great coin for this kind of movement. We grabbed a little bit of a profit in the midst of that, so I was happy about that. I mean, the volume is just miserably small. This one's at 0. Okay, it has been listed. Just kidding. So CIS at 18. I mean, the fact that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 under 20 BTC 24-hour volume on Binance. I mean, that's typical for the scammy spammy ones like Cryptopia, but not on Binance. RAQ, pitiful. Oh, it's just pitiful. You can do better. I know you can. So you can see goes back to here, right where it was before the Bitcoin crash thing. So we're gonna see some bounce spike. There's no question about it. It's coming. Will it be here in the morning? That'll be really good if it is. Would not surprise me at all. So I'm excited to see a few of these guys pop pretty quickly. Wanted you to see our strategy for the low, going to some of the extremely low value coins that are just very typically, they just do not live that low, and I can't imagine that some people aren't going to take advantage of these. But you can also see I'm not choosing the ones that have 50, 100 BTC in every position. So I think that it won't require a lot in order for it to move. So that's part of our strategy. If you're interested in knowing the reason for things, that's one of the reasons. You can see 565 Bitcoin, but it's got 200 BTC 24-hour volume, so it can handle getting back up where it needs to go. And if you look at what it's doing, it had bottomed out lower than that. We've seen 51, 52. We're just trying to get back up to where it was over here. XVG, you can see nothing super massive. No super massive black holes. Love that. Okay. Once again, 1 Bitcoin, less than a Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin, less than a Bitcoin. But people are already pushing for larger positions up here, so there's expectation working in our favor. Trying to sell at 38. This one's going to take a little bit of work. People are hitting it a little bit heavier there, but look, 23 Bitcoin, 14 Bitcoin. As long as it's in the right direction, the expectation is there. It can get a little bit spiky on the way down and the way up. But it's a little bit of a try to force myself to be out of sight, out of mind, because it's going to do what it needs to do. The difference between 168 and 187, if it can just correct even to where it was 5 hours ago, then we'll be in the clear. No telling what the market's going to do, but if we have any inclination about it at all, this should be worth the wait. Well, they're weighed down pretty heavy there in the 92, 91, so that may backfire on them. We'll see. Usually that actually works, but Bitcoin is confused about its identity, so there's going to be a slight down before it goes back up, in my opinion. And key, I said and key, 3 1 2 1 2 2 2 2 3 2 2 2 1. So the size of the positions can call what's called a buy wall or a sell wall, and things can get stuck. I don't expect that to be a major problem. Volume is really the issue more than anything. More people trading. Any of these, well, these are probably not ones that are going to get spam pumped, I don't think. But yeah, so you can see my strategy for, they were all in the slightly lower value range, which means that they have fewer steps to get larger percentages, but it's very rare for them to be this low beneath anything, even if Bitcoin is doing a massive correction. So like, well, if you remember weeks and weeks and weeks back, I'm sure you do, when IOST was struggling to get between 197 to 200, and then once it got beyond there, it like went all the way up to 300. See a lot of those kind of things happen with the coins that have some value behind their project, and some of them are not, the hugest value coins on their own. So we're kind of there all over again, and there's no question, frustrated by that. We were just working on getting through these new positions. There's no reason to see such an unnatural crash. So now we have what could be a mirroring if oh my gosh, 188, that's crazy. 188, 371. It's not going to be a median that makes us happy, but let's just say 188 plus 371 equals that divided by 2. So 279, that gets us, it gets 2 of them out of the way, if that's what it does. But we actually have to be towards the high side to get those really important higher positions. And it really was working on doing the next spike, so it's kind of disappointing. But we were back here this time last year, even just about, was when it was 700. So it's less than a third its value. It was easily able to hold that's kind of 600 range for a long time. It came back to it, which is significant. Held over 600, over 400, came back to almost 500. So I think that it is reasonable to assume that this is the first spike. This might be the second spike. This might be the third spike. I'm not happy about the 360s at all, but it's not impossible to perceive it getting back up there. So just, yeah, IOST. I don't want to OST anything, really, So look how sharp that drop is. IOTX, probably the most disappointing recent events, I would say. So in the 290s are right through here. And honestly, the good part about that is crossing the volume there. It's crossing the volume there. It's crossing the volume there. It's crossing the volume there. The volume is really still in the 270, 280 range. You can see exactly how low that is in comparison to what we should expect. So, it's crossing over right about there. Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable, really. It's, yes, these things happen. Yes, they happen often, but they don't usually happen when it's already rebounding in a different part of the cycle. So it's very unusual. It's not unusual to be unusual. Can't believe BCPT is under 1,000 again. That's just unbelievable, and yet believable. So yeah, once again, we shot towards the high side because everything was indicating it was pretty safe in that range. But it'll be great to see whether this pattern gets broken really quickly. But I'm looking at this steady up for all of that October. Here's the fallout from the Bitcoin Cash hard fork. So it was stabilizing in the 14, 15s around this range, and now we kind of need a 13, which is kind of high. So BCPT is usually a pretty good performer, but as you can see, we definitely are on the high side of things now. So not real thrilled about that one, and we do have a little bit of money in there. So we'll see what it does. We'll see, but the indication is that might become a hold. Don't like having any holds at all. We had a perfect record for a couple months there, and that was pretty exhilarating. Encash, I think, is going to be our friend quicker than later. Hold on for 1 second, please. So as you can see, this is unbelievably low. It's the lowest that it's been, even if it only comes to, gosh, I can't even give an example. So we have this one at 60 that's a really long term, and that's assuming that 80, 70 is a reasonable value for it to get back to. I don't think that it's unreasonable to think that a fourth, a fifth, a sixth of the value is something that it could come back to. So, if assuming that 500 is high, 60 certainly should be a reasonable bounce back. But these are most recent ones. I hope that is helpful and interesting to you. If it's not, then you're definitely not interested in trading altcoins, because this stuff is gold, baby. Oh yeah. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure and subscribe. Make sure that you tell your friends. Comment, ring the bell so that you get updates. Give us a thumbs up and come join our community, archangelalts.com. And you see the link there in the chat to join up. So we'll let you know when the next webinar is coming up. EGC is the exponential growth curve. You will definitely want to see it, learn more about it. Come join our group. Your voice is the one that's missing. So until next time, Archangel Alts out.